All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to explore this really powerful idea from a writer named Koro that completely reframes how we look at our place in the world. It's all about finding a real, deep sense of purpose, especially when life feels, well, a little disconnected. I mean, we all do, right? You know that feeling like you're spread a little too thin, maybe a bit isolated, or just not quite where you think you should be. But what if, just what if, that feeling isn't an accident? What if being scattered is actually a core part of a much bigger, much more intentional story? Let's get into it. So, to really get this, we've got to go back a bit. This whole idea of God's people being scattered isn't some new age concept. It's actually ancient. And believe it or not, it's packed with a ton of hope. Okay, so take a look at this. This is from Zechariah, and it's kind of our starting point. Did you catch the two main things happening here? God scatters, and then God gathers. It's this deliberate two-step plan. So it's not a punishment, right? It's more like a phase, and a phase that has a promised ending. And this is the key. Being scattered doesn't mean you're lost. Not at all. It means you've been placed with a purpose. It's this idea that believers are intentionally sprinkled all over the world, living life right alongside everyone else, but still holding on to who they are.
And Koro uses this awesome modern analogy to explain it. Think about the internet, right? We can be physically miles, continents apart, but we're all hooked into the same network. It's that shared connection, our faith, that keeps us all united, part of the same big family.
Okay, so if being scattered is just a phase, what comes next? Well, that's the best part. It's not permanent. There is a promised reunion coming. Which, of course, leads to the big question, when? When does this regathering happen? And you know what? The source text actually lays out a kind of timeline for us to think about. So check this out. It's a really fascinating way to look at history. The gathering process, it's not something that's going to happen way off in the future. Nope. It actually started with the crucifixion. That was the kickoff. And right now, we're living in the in-between. This is the scattered period. And the whole thing wraps up with the finale, that big reunion when Jesus comes back. Okay, so understanding that big picture, that brings it all down to a pretty personal level, doesn't it? If we're part of this story, that means we're what the Bible calls the chosen. But that word can feel a little weird, right? It comes with a lot of baggage. So let's break down what it actually means. This right here is so important. On the one side, you've got the big misconception. Chosen means you're in some exclusive elite club, something you have to earn. But the reality, it's the complete opposite. It's an open invitation for absolutely everyone. It has nothing to do with how good you are and everything to do with how you respond to the call. And this verse from Revelation just nails it. He's not forcing his way in. He's just knocking. All the power, all the choice is on our side of the door. Being chosen is just hearing that knock and deciding to open it. So maybe we need a new definition. The chosen isn't someone with special privileges. It's just anyone who hears that knock, hears that call, and answers yes. Simple as that. It's a decision, not a title. But okay, how do you even get to a place where you can hear that knock? How do you become aware of it? Well, Koro tells this amazing personal story that really makes it all click. He talks about a time when he was overweight, and he calls it his 70 kg moment. And trust me, it's a perfect metaphor for this whole spiritual journey. See, he says that people could tell him he needed to lose weight all day long, but it just went in one ear and out the other. It didn't mean anything. The real change, the only thing that worked, was when he stepped on the scale, saw that number, and had this internal moment of, whoa, I have a problem. It had to come from him. And that's exactly how it works spiritually, isn't it? It starts with that moment of realization, seeing that gap between who you are and who you want to be. Then comes repentance, which is just a fancy word for deciding to turn around. And then you have to actually do something. You have to take a step, even a tiny one, in a new direction. So how do we get to that spiritual 70-kilogram moment? Well, the advice is pretty straightforward. You pray. You read the Bible. You actually try to get to know Jesus. And this last one is huge. You stop comparing yourself to other people, and instead, you start comparing yourself to Him. That's the standard. That's where real clarity comes from. Now look, this whole journey, it's not a straight line. We all know that. We're going to stumble. We are absolutely going to fail. And that brings us to the final and honestly maybe the most powerful idea of all. A totally different way of thinking about failure. The goal isn't perfection. Let's just get that out of the way. It's impossible. The real goal is to become more transparent, like a clean window, to get rid of the stuff that blocks the light so that Jesus can be seen through you. And this number is everything. 0. That's how many times you can fail and be disqualified after you've said yes. 0. Failure doesn't kick you out of the family. It's actually part of the deal. I mean, just let that sink in. It completely flips our idea of failure on its head. Realizing you've messed up, that's not a disqualification. Koro says it's a privilege. It's a sign that you're actually in the game. It means you're close enough to the light to even see that you're falling short. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What if that scattered feeling means you're exactly where you're supposed to be? And what if your biggest failures aren't setbacks at all? What if they're actually signs that you're close enough to the light to see your own shadow? Pretty incredible thought. Thanks so much for joining me.